Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 41. This is reference 126334. It's a combination of gray gold, that is 18 karat white gold on the bezel, and 904L stainless steel. This watch is the successor to the Datejust 2, and I'm going to throw it on my wrist after giving you the dimensions. So it's still 41 millimeters in diameter, and you can see it's 12.2 millimeters thick. From lug to lug, it's 47.5 millimeters, and end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist is 51.1 millimeters, with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, when you throw it on the wrist, it's very comfortable. It's a watch that wears well on a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. My wrist, again, is 16, and you can see this is a good match. The further I move away, the better it looks. As you can see, in proportion to the wrist, it's nicely sized. It's also flat enough with a box section sapphire and a conical bezel that it'll slide easily underneath the cuff. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, we should remind ourselves that Rolex is a full manufacturer, so not just movements, but dials, hands, bracelets, clasps, and cases. It even has its own foundry, and it makes its own alloys. Gray gold, as Rolex uses it, is an 18 karat white gold alloy that's white gold all the way through, so it never needs to be rhodium plated. You're looking at a fluted bezel here, and in Rolex design, history, heritage, and convention, that means gold. That means red, yellow, or white gold. The case is 904L steel. Now we have a case that is beautifully polished with tapered lugs. This is not the super case, giving way to the 3-link Oyster bracelet. Now the thing about this bracelet in this case is that the steel never needs to be rinsed after exposure to salt. So if you dunk it in the sea, you don't necessarily need to rinse it. It's more resistant to corrosion than 316 steel. As you can see, the watch features removable links fixed by screws. The outer faces are polished, the shoulders are satinated, the centers are polished. We have a single locking factor on this clasp. It's not one of the harder core sports watches with a clamshell, but we still have a beak and a hook, and it latches like that. So you actually need to lift the latch to unlock it. It is more secure than a typical friction fit clasp. Now we have Easy Link inside the clasp, which is a 5mm tool-free adjustment system. So it's the equivalent of adding or removing one sizable link. And then, let's see if we can show this in the light we've got, but there are a couple of divots drilled inside the clasp. You can see them here. So you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point inside the clasp itself. So we have removable links, Easy Link, and those 3 divots to find size. A graceful case profile, narrow, nice compound curves. You can see what the light does across its surface. You don't get that on a GMT or a sub. This is beautifully compound curved and downright sexy. When I say a compound curve, I mean it arcs around from side to side, but it also arcs down from top to bottom. Taking a quick look at the crown, twin lock screw down, 100 meters of water resistance, gray gold bezel, and you can see the bezel is in very good shape. It's not been roughly handled or excessively refinished. It still has its original factory sharpness. The dial is white, not silver white, but white, chalk white, like an Explorer 2. So it gives you a little bit of a brighter appearance than a typical Rolex Sunburst silver. We have hands, Rolex crown, and indices in 18 karat gold, so they don't age, oxidize, or tarnish over time. That's done for longevity. We also have plenty of luminescence, and you can see it is Rolex Chromolite Blue, their signature in-house lume. The Cyclops Eye magnifier is less disruptive on the larger case. In the 36mm and ladies size Datejusts, it tends to crowd and dominate the dial. Here the dial breathes a little better, so the magnifier doesn't seem awkward, it's just helpful. We have 2 subsidiary setting modes from the movement. One is hacking or stop seconds, and then the other is the quick set system for the dates. You can rapidly correct the date if you need to. The watch includes the new 70-hour power reserve automatic Rolex 3235 manufacturer movement. One of the big changes from the past 3135, aside from the extra power reserve, the 70-hour movement features a winding rotor ball bearing system rather than the jeweled staff of the 3135, so it's a more shock-tolerant winding system as a result. The watch gains additional shock tolerance thanks to the use of Rolex proprietary Paraflex shock protection springs rather than KIF, and a full balance bridge with a free-sprung balance, which also allows the watch to be very precisely regulated. It is a COSC chronometer, but Rolex goes above and beyond, casing up the chronometer movement and timing it to no worse than +2, -2 seconds per 24 hours. That is the superlative chronometer standard to which Rolex refers on the dial. The 31 jewel movement beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it has a handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring that allows the watch to keep even time in almost any position in defiance of gravity, which can cause watches to change their timing as the position changes. The hairspring is also anti-magnetic blue oxidized niobium zirconium, making this a hardened watch against shock, magnetism, and submergence, as 100 meters water resistance makes this a solid all-arounder. It's much more than just a dress watch. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.